Grocery store closing in a small village might sound like a local business story, but in Wolcott, it's a lot more than that. For some people, that store was the difference between getting fresh food nearby and having to find a ride 20, 30, or 45 minutes away. My guest today on In Focus is Grace Rice. She's 19 years old, and before the store closed, she went from cashier to manager, running the place through supply problems, customer frustration, and a lot of uncertainty. What stood out to me most wasn't just how much Grace understood about the business. That was impressive, but more impressive was just how much she cared about the people who depended on that supermarket. This is a conversation about food access, small towns, rural grocery stores, and what happens when a community institution disappears. Here's my conversation with Grace Rice. Very beginning. Do you remember your first day at the grocery store?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I do. I started as a cashier. I was homeschooled, so I had a lot of time on my hands. Um, I honestly don't remember the ins and outs, but I was just a cashier. I remember like 2 weeks after I started, like a guy threw change at me, and that was pretty memorable, but otherwise it was all good.
Just a very ordinary start.
Yeah.
Was it just a matter of convenience working at the grocery store, or was it something like you
Oh yeah.
yeah,
It was
just
it was
easy
close
thing
by.
to
It
do?
was easy. Yep.
Okay. Um, w- you live nearby. You live in Wolcott. You're a part of the community.
Mm.
Um, Before you started working there, then when you started to work there and you started to see people come in and out, I'm assuming a lot of familiar faces, that sort of thing. How quickly did you realize that the store probably meant quite a bit to the community itself?
Well, I mean, almost immediately. I mean, I have lived in Wolcott my whole life, so I mean, I had shopped at the store, obviously. I had also been involved with the Palace Theater from 2018 to 2024, and like we would buy our ice there, and like, definitely very a pivotal place in the community. Um, so yeah, I mean, just everybody. It's a very small community, so everybody kind of knows everybody else, and yeah, I don't know, it's just nice.
What was it like when you first, because obviously, for those who don't know, the
Mm.
grocery store wound up closing
Yes,
very recently, though.
yes.
We're not talking about the 3-ish years ago. What was it like in the beginning in terms of traffic flow and everything like that versus what you saw at the end? Was there a big difference or was it about the same or?
Absolutely. It was so busy when I first started working there. And you kind of get everybody. Like we live right next to the lake, so like on the summer, I mean, we get all the cottagers come in, and everybody in the community would shop there. The turning point, I guess, was when we turned into Save a Lot. It got a little bit of pushback, and then just a load of other things happened, and then I mean, it was so we were Save a Lot for a year, so I would say after we stopped being when Save a Lot kind of parted ways, that was like it.
Changed?
Yes, I would say because we didn't have a lot of food, unfortunately, but then everything after we stopped being a Save a Lot, I felt as though we were going up, but I don't know, I guess
What
things
was it?
happen.
What was it before the Save a Lot days and then after the Save a Lot days? Because it sounds like it was three different things over that
Yes,
period. So
definitely.
what were the brands, I guess, that it went through along the way,
So
the
when I
evolution?
first started working there, it was called Bob's Supermarket. The main distributor was C&S Grocers.
Mhm.
Then we switched to Save a Lot, and that was, through their brands, their name. And that was only a partnership, so I think it gets confused sometimes. Save a Lot didn't own any of it. It was kind of just like a partnership. We could have their name, their stock,
Yeah.
put it on the store, and so forth. And then after we weren't anything, after they parted ways, we kind of just ran off of vendors, just kind of like very local vendors. And the owners were trying to find something else to put in there, and it just took too
Fully
long, I
independent.
guess.
So like fully
Like
independent at that
fully
point.
independent. We had no distributor backing us. It was only the only things we were getting in was produce, some stuff from Lipari Foods for our dairy, and Davis Brothers for meat.
How challenging was that period? Because that sounds like that would be the most chaotic, because you're not only like bringing stuff in things are thinning out, but you're also trying to hunt down vendors, partners,
Yeah,
et cetera.
very. So in January was when we parted, ways, or the owners parted ways with Save a Lot. So we didn't really get anything. We had Goya products coming in pretty consistently. We had Upstate Farms in there, but we no longer were able to have those in there. So we, yeah, myself and my coworkers, kind of banded together, and because we didn't have any produce, and we were kind of like, guys, what are we doing? Because um, the owners, there were two owners that I kind of, if I can talk,
Yeah.
yeah. So there were two owners that I and my coworkers had kind of spoken with mainly. One of which was Srujal. He's Canadian. He, for the past year, has to be in Canada at the moment for whatever reasons. I don't know. And there was another owner. So, obviously one wasn't there. The other one for a year. And then the other owner, he also owned a grocery store in Cato. I don't know what happened to him either. So, that was in March. So as of like March, no owners could physically be at the store. So it was just us employees running the whole thing. So it was kind of that on top of now I have to find, I strive to put produce, meat, and dairy. That's what I wanted because I knew that the grocery products were depleting. So yeah, it was a little bit difficult and trying to find things in our price range and a lot of things like you have to buy like a certain amount of product or else you
Sure.
can't get it. And I was like, I can't afford to get 100 cases of bananas right now. We just don't have the customer base for it. But yeah, I would say towards the last couple of months with Save a Lot, and then you compare it to the last couple of months we were facing before the closure, I would say we were doing better then, than we were before. So that made it all more disappointing. But
Do you think customers knew things were not going great at any of those points along the way?
yes, absolutely, yes. While we were a Save a Lot, there were a couple of things, I don't know, like a lot of people are like, what's that main point? And it's just like, it was just kind of like a combination of things that kind of led to this, I guess.
Yeah.
But yes, a lot of people could see some issues, but a lot of people were very helpful and very supportive, and like I love them.
Yeah. Nearest grocery store
hmm
without you guys there now. What is
Yes.
that?
So there is a smaller grocery store. It's called Hillside Market. That's a few miles outside of town. The next like full grocery store is in Sodus, Patton's Market. It's about 20 minutes away, and then anything like a Walmart, another Save a Lot, Aldi's, all that's about 30 to 45 minutes away. So we were kind of right there, and we pulled it. It wasn't just Wolcott that shopped there either. I mean, it was like North Rose and Red Creek and Sodus and, all those they're kind of in between us and somewhere else, and they used to come to us. So,
Yeah.
it was a big loss for sure.
You mentioned as you were breaking down the timeline there, at what point did you become store manager? At what point did that transition happen for you?
Yeah, so I was a cashier when I first started. A couple months after that, I became the assistant manager, and I just, closed, opened, did system work, blah blah blah. It was when the Canadian owner ended up in Canada. I was promoted to the store manager to kind of fill that void, and I worked alongside the other owner, Bavine.
What was that conversation like? And I'm not asking you to divulge anything like private or anything like that,
Yeah.
but I'm just curious, like, how were you even thinking about that? Like, as you're going through your own life, and all of a sudden you're like, someone says to you, "Hey, want to be the store manager of a grocery store?"
I mean, honestly, it wasn't really a conversation. They were just like, here. But I took pride in it. I was like, wow, I'm being trusted to run this store. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I didn't think too much about it. I enjoyed what I was doing, and I just, took pride with it. I was like, all right, here's the situation. Put me in. That's okay.
How did your days change after that? I would assume you probably felt
Lot.
a little more ownership and like,
yeah, very
days
long
working.
shifts. Yeah, very long shifts, and you know, a lot of people looking at me all the time. Um, but yeah, I felt like it was actually very fluid. It
Mhm.
wasn't honestly that big of a change.
Yeah.
Um, that I love all my coworkers. They're very uplifting. So it's
I'm curious if that changed the customer service dynamic at all, because um, I'm just thinking, being such a young person in such a vital role, I would imagine that some people were probably left scratching their head when they realized that you were the store manager. Did that make any of those interactions a little stranger?
a little bit, yeah. I think a lot of people would I would say more online. A lot of people are like, well, that's just a teenager running it. So what does she know? Of course it looks like this. But um I would say no, because anyone that would just have a conversation with me in the store would be like, oh, okay, well, that's why she's here. So no, I don't think so. And I've gained a lot of support, so I don't think so. No.
I didn't catch that part of the reaction. I did some combing through Facebook and whatnot.
Mhm.
Um, was that part of the dynamic as the
Towards the
place went on?
beginning. Definitely not
Okay.
towards the end.
Okay.
Um which yeah, it just makes it all the more disappointing was I just felt like we had such a good support online, in the store, and then it closed.
Yeah. Nobody
Yes.
supports a grocery store more when until it's closing.
Seriously.
Um, so as you're going through the last couple months or what have you, the biggest thing that we kept hearing over and over again was the town can support a grocery store. The
Yes.
the area can support a grocery store. Um, obviously, some folks looking at this situation are going to say, "Well, they closed, so can they support a grocery store?" You've you've been in the business. Was it really the partnerships that weren't there that wound up being the deal breaker for the grocery store more than like the customer base part of it?
I feel like it almost kind of went hand in hand. So the I understand let's see, how do I put this? Like I understand why people were frustrated. Like when the initial switch to Save a Lot, it was very inconsistent and I can't blame it on Save a Lot. I can't just blame it on the owners. I can't just blame it on the customers. You know, it's that kind of so many things like went wrong, but it's like, one week, we would have bread but we wouldn't have milk. And then we'd have milk and then we wouldn't have bread. And it's like, why am I even shopping here? I can't even get everything that I want. But then it's also that wasn't on purpose either. It's like, well, this situation happened, we weren't able to have bread, and it's just kind of a build up where people just they got tired, they got frustrated. So I understand. And yeah, so I understand it, but it also was I guess the main thing that frustrated me was why aren't you hearing us out? Like I know that I understand your frustration, but you're also not giving us a chance to explain why any of this is going on.
Hmm.
Um but yeah, and that situation just kind of happened 100 times over until and I don't really even know the intimate details of why Save a Lot kind of pulled or what that situation was, but yeah, it was so many things kind of wrapped up into one that I can't blame it on one thing or another. The community could absolutely support a grocery store. It did for 60 years. I believe it still could after. Um yeah, and I don't think a lot of people are like it should be this store, it should be this store. I the only thing I think is somebody needs to buy it that cares. Like I don't think it was oh, well, it's a Save a Lot, should have been in Aldi's. Like
Yeah.
that's not why it closed down. I just don't think there was enough care or eyesight on what actually was going on. And if there was, then I think it would still be open right now. I just don't think anyone that actually had the power to change anything had their heart into it. And I think that's kind of why we're here. And also, but there also were, like myself and my coworkers, put everything into that store. And no one really, towards the beginning, wanted to look. And by the time they wanted to look, it was just kind of too late.
You don't feel like it's a situation where had you guys had another 6 months or a year,
Hmm.
that it could have been worked out.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I think if whatever situation with the owners where they could just get along or figure out what they wanted to do, then absolutely. I absolutely, especially with the employees that they had, um, they absolutely could have been turned around. It just didn't.
I'm thinking about the Facebook post that I'm assuming you posted um, on the day when you guys announced that it was
Mhm.
going to be closing. Um, Take me back to that day when you're writing that and the things you were feeling and thinking, n knowing what all of you had poured into
Mhm.
like the store, how like the emotions and the things that you felt writing it and then saying like, yeah, it's happening, it's real.
Yeah. I was heartbroken. I still am like heartbroken. I'd like pass the store every day and I'm just like, ugh, gosh, it sucks. Um, yeah, it took me a while to kind of accumulate all the things that I wanted to say in a short manner. But I really wanted to be respectful to the community and I wanted to be respectful to the store. Like it's been here forever. I mean, it was like hand built. Like it shouldn't, you know, be so frowned upon as it is. But I was just really sad, and I cannot stress how I could not have done everything I did if I didn't have coworkers that were so uplifting and amazing. Like my assistant manager, Sarah, she is just like an angel sent from heaven. She's amazing. And I was really sad to not be able to work with them again. I was like, I'm never gonna see you guys again. This is
Yeah.
terrible. Like we poured in so much to this, and it was just really disappointing to not see it fulfilled as far as the store goes. I think I treat everything as a learning experience, so I feel like I definitely learned a lot. Like it wasn't a wasted experience, but I was just it sucked a little bit. But I also wanted to thank the community because so many people came in and just to talk or to offer advice to be like, "Hey, what was this like?" or to actually understand. I just loved people that would actually come in and have a conversation. And there were also a lot of people rooting for our downfall, and that's kind of, I was like, I know, I can see your picket signs already. You know, I guess you got what you wanted.
What were they rooting for? Like, what were they
Um,
rooting against, I
I
guess? Like,
really don't know. I don't know if they thought that pushing to have it closed meant they would get a brand new grocery store in. Yeah, there were some situations. Yeah, or I don't know if it was exactly their intention to have it closed. I don't know what their intentions were, to be quite honest. But we definitely had a few spots in the community that were like, die, you know, like, well, we don't want you here anymore. We've had enough. But I've tried to put on blinders, look past it, and there were truly people in the community that were very aspiring that helped in any way they could to keep it fulfilled, and I loved it.
I am curious. I want to poke on that a little bit. Do you think there is a or was a contingency of the folks who were rooting against the success of the store, who felt like, yeah, now we can get an Aldi, or now, we
Yes,
can get a bigger box store?
I truly do believe that is what they thought. Like, I think they were like, let's get these guys out of here and we're gonna have something brand new. It's gonna be amazing. I'm just like, it's not how it works. And you know,
At
they're the
all.
kind of the people that are like, I don't hear it. It's going through and right out the other. I'm not gonna give you a chance to explain, but like it has to be for sale. Like to my knowledge, as of right now, the store is still not for sale. So unfortunately, it's probably gonna sit there, and that's what I was fighting to do. And I think a lot of people were like, I don't know why you're talking like this store is such a great place. And just from the moment that we stopped being a Save Lot, I stopped promoting it as if it was like this great store and we have everything in stock and it's the best store in all of upstate New York. I was not promoting it that way. I was just trying to be like, we're working on the steps forward. This is what we're trying to do for anyone to see, whether it was to convince the owners to keep going, to convince customers to come back in, to convince anyone that was looking at us that the store is worth it, not to give up on it, because we did not want to give up on it. Um, but there were just some people that were just like, no, you're not doing anything, and I want an Aldi's in here, so that's it. I'm over this.
And just to put a finer point on that, for those who are listening,
Mhm.
I've talked to site selectors before
Mhm.
for the big box stores, and they have no interest in these small markets. They just
You
don't.
know, they want money. Like they aren't really, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. I've never worked at any of these stores, but I just like going there isn't going to pull like people in Wolcott are going to Newark for the Aldi's there, or they just built one in Ontario, you know? So they're not getting any new customers by putting one in Wolcott. So it's just going to take away from other businesses. And I just feel like, but they just don't want to hear that. Wouldn't Aldi's be there? Yeah, maybe it would be cool, but it's not, they're not going to make a lot of money, to be honest, because it's just, if you're already going to travel to go to these other places, that's just where they're going to go. I don't really think they care too much about your convenience. They want to make sure that they're also making a profit, which is not bad, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that goes back to just how like complex a business like a grocery is.
Very, yes.
And how it's not just like, oh, you just show up and the trucks just start rolling in and the shelves are full.
And let me tell you, things are not free. Like, I think a lot of people, when it was Bob's, this is something I also found very interesting as well, because when it was Bob's, all I heard was, oh my gosh, this is so expensive. Everything's so expensive. This is outrageous. And then we turned into a save-a-lot. I mean, like, our canned items were like 69 cents, and we didn't make any money off of that. Like, that was something that you brought in. They were sold for unit price.
Yeah.
And they still were like, this is way more expensive than any save-a-lot I've ever been in. And this is just too much. Or... and of course, like, there were things we had to up on, because we're not a Walmart. Like, we can't sell things for like dirt cheap because we don't have the amount of, like, Walmart probably has thousands of people walking through their doors a day.
Volume.
We don't,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And then when it wasn't Save-A-Lot, you know, of course, I was only getting 3 fresh trucks in a week. Like, the prices are going to be a little bit more because that's the only thing I'm making money off of, which I think just people kind of push back on. Like, I'm not selling meat for $8 a pound for fun. I'm not making $8 off of it. I'm making like $1.
Yeah.
And I have to pay for lights and water and employees, and I have to pay for everything off of this $1 a pound I'm making off of meat.
Yeah.
And that won't change regardless of what store it is. You have to make some kind of profit there's so much overhead. So yes, sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but yeah.
Oh, that's I actually appreciate hearing you talk about it that way, because I think people really tend to tune out in terms of, you know, they sort of take the existence of whatever grocery store they go to all the time for granted, and they just don't really think about the, you know, one of the things I was thinking about coming in here was just how many vendors are involved.
Yeah.
It's not like everything comes in on one truck.
No.
Like, everything is coming in on a billion trucks. And I'm thinking of, like, obviously larger grocery stores, but like same is true for smaller grocery stores too. And like, there are humans like you who have to actually like handle the logistics of all of that, which is a massive undertaking by itself.
And to add on to that, there are delivery fees, and like since the beginning of 2026, there's fuel fees, and so I have to not only pay to like get it in, but there's going to be a delivery charge, a fuel charge. You know, if somebody else has to use a packer to get it out, that's another charge. And I have to pay somebody to put the products on the shelf, and like a lot more goes into it. It's not immediate, but it was in the past, was profitable, was a good store, so it could be, you know, again. But yeah, just so much money, and then you know, then we have to plow the parking lot, and then the grass has to be mowed, and then there's the water bill. Like, there's so many bills that go into it that it's not like, no, I'm not making that immediate $3 off of that, you know, lemon. Not that our lemons were $3, but it's a lot.
Well, that's also another thing that I wanted to sort of get your feelings on, was just sort of like you started, I'm assuming, in 22 or 23, somewhere in that ballpark, coming out of COVID, all of the crazy supply chain issues that COVID involved, and that lasted well beyond, you know, 2020, 2021. I imagine things kind of, you know, regulated a little bit, but then over the last year and a half, again, big sweeping change again. Like, what was that part like? Just, did that add fuel to the chaos?
A little bit. Actually, yeah. My coworkers and I talked about this, actually, because when we initially turned into Save-A-Lot, it was January of 2025. all of the prices were rising. But one of our problems was everybody acted like we were the only place that had like eggs in 2025 were like $4 for like a dozen. And everybody was like, no, you are the only store that's having that for that much. And it did hurt us a little bit. I would say, yeah, the timing wasn't impeccable, but you know, we managed. We managed for sure. But yeah, definitely ups and downs. It just things are expensive, you know? And we aren't making $4 off the bat. We had to pay for the egg,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I think just kind of sometimes just goes right
It's
over.
yeah, it's a lot, and it's a complicated thing to
Mhm.
manage. Um, okay, so I guess we gotta talk about this part of it. You like what was as all of this is happening, what are you thinking about like your future and what you want to do? I don't know if managing the grocery store was like plan A from the jump, or if it just kind of it was there and you did it. But then as all of these other things are happening, you're thinking about what do I want to do next? Do I want to pursue something different? What like walk me through all that.
Yeah. Uh, Honestly, it was a little bit of a struggle for me. I would say it would be the latter. Like, I kind of just like, okay, I'm here. I'm just gonna do it. Why not? I've
Yeah.
gone this far. I'm just gonna keep going. Um, no, I didn't really think too much about it. I put a lot of faith that this was going to work out. So, as this all was going on, I was like, I think I want to stay. I think I want to see it through. And I do have a love for the community. You know, a lot of people were getting to know me. I was meeting a lot of people, and once again, I loved my coworkers. I was like, I don't want to leave you guys. This is such a good workplace. I don't want to go to another one and hate everybody that I'm working with. Um, and so yeah, my plan was to stay for at least a while. I really wanted to see it through, and I really wanted to see the store successful. On all planes, not only, I mean, I would like I was a part of keeping it open. That would have been a nice thing to say, but also yeah, I just enjoyed being there and being at that store. As much work that I put in, it gave me a lot of time to do other things. I have simultaneously always worked about two other jobs alongside the store, and I enjoyed that. Working there gave me the opportunity to continue to do other things that I love. So yeah, so I wasn't so I'm a little bit in a pickle now because I didn't think too much about it, but I have two other jobs in my pocket, so it wasn't a huge loss, but well, it was, but you know.
Yeah. Um, biggest lesson learned through that whole
Mhm.
process.
Biggest lesson learned. Oh my gosh. I don't know, just working together, I guess. Communication. I think I learned a great deal of how to communicate with like every aspect, whether it was the owners or Save a Lot or my coworkers or the community online, in person, communicating with, you know, the mountains of vendors and all sorts of people. I definitely without really too much help, it definitely was something I just kind of had to pick up. So I would say that, I suppose, yeah.
There has to be an immense amount of pride, in obviously what you were able to do, but also, you know, at 19 years old, being able to say, like, I managed a grocery store. Like, even if the outcome wasn't exactly what you wanted to see,
Yeah.
um, when someone says to you the word community, I'm assuming it means something a little different to you now than it did before.
Mhm.
When you think about community, uh, what does that look like? Like, what does good community look like to you now versus what it looked like before?
Support, like absolutely. I think I don't know. I'm gonna just trail back to the communication, I guess. I just love talking to people. Like I love being able to have a conversation with anybody. And that was one of my favorite parts of, you know, working there was I got to meet people, I got to talk to people, and that was and people that would help in any means necessary. I mean, like we had mountains of problems at that store. And you know, if I could go up to someone and be like, "Hey, there I've got a situation going on," and they were more than willing to help, like that
Yeah.
was I just really appreciate that immensely.
When you think about Wolcott now being a food desert, a
Mhm.
for real food desert, um, and you think about, the next 5, 10, 15 years and what the community might look like,
Mhm.
how worried do you get for the community? Because there is no guarantee, like you said, the building's not for sale. There's no guarantee that, it will be a grocery store again. Maybe it becomes, a convenience store, gas station, like we've seen happen a
Mhm.
lot, or a Dollar General. What do you think about when you start to, look forward a little more for the community?
I think they will be able to adapt. I mean, there's a lot of people like how do I put so we do have a Dollar General, we do have a Family Dollar, but they aren't, they're not full-fledged grocery stores. I personally don't think someone should have to survive off of a Dollar General. I believe it's turning into a Dollar General market. That still doesn't have your fresh meat. And there are a lot of people that don't have cars. There are a lot of people that are, elderly, and low income. Wolk is a very low income community. And it's hard for people to go out and buy these things. So, I mean, there are avenues. You can take a bus. I believe the Watts bus still comes in through Wolcott, or you can order things. But I just liked having I I think being able to go in, run, get one thing or two, yes, so how do I put this in words? I feel like they'll be able to adapt. I just don't think they should have to, I guess is what I think. Um okay, I got to tell this story. I love this guy. There was this little old man, he would come in every single morning for one bushel of bananas. There was actually 1 month where we didn't have bananas and he still came in every single day to see when we would get like a shipment in, and then immediately after he was back buying his bananas. And I'm like, that is who I was trying to keep it open for. Like, cuz he shouldn't have to go to God knows where to get bananas now.
Yeah.
Um
Every day, a
Oh,
bushel of
literally like
bananas.
every day. I'd be worried if he didn't come in, and he would get his one bushel of bananas. He's great. Um, and that is who I was um, truly trying to keep it open for. Like, where is he gonna get his bananas now? Breaks my heart.
Yeah. I think people forget about the transportation piece that you just mentioned there.
Mhm.
In a lot of rural communities, there's a lot of folks who don't have access to reliable transportation,
Mhm.
and having a grocery store nearby is literally like the difference between, you know, convenient, like stocking your kitchen
Mhm.
through a convenience store
Right.
versus, actually being able to get, meat, fresh produce, all that kind of stuff. Like
Right.
it's just it's such an important piece um, to the puzzle. Last day. What do you remember from that last day? It was kind of a run out situation, right? Like you guys were running the clock out in terms of like you weren't restocking things,
Mhm.
but you had a hard date, but then you were kind of like if things empty out before then.
Mhm.
So last day, walk me through what that day looked like.
Oh man. So the last day was that was a little bit more interesting. So our tentative date that we had put was the 20th of June. We ended up actually closing the Thursday after I announced the closure. Um, and that was actually very unexpected. Just a situation that kind of happened, and I was like, if we're gonna close next week anyway, I think I'm gonna put my hands up. And it was really sad. I remember the very last was myself and my assistant manager and our two kids were, kind of just sitting there, and we were just talking. It was very like melancholy, I guess. It was, bittersweet maybe. It was, yeah. And then yeah, turning the lock on the door, oh my gosh, it like broke a piece of me. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was very disappointing, I guess, but I had Sarah there, so Sarah and her amazing kids. So, yeah.
What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone, not just specifically in like the grocery store setting, but like to someone who was put in that situation, not exactly an expected situation, but the weight of the community on your shoulders, like people rooting for you, people rooting against you, like all these different like emotions and things and challenges that you're facing, but incredibly important and consequential. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone who is also going through that, especially if they're younger?
Yeah. Do not let it get in your head. Like I am the type of person, I just keep going straight, and I have to ignore, things. I just, keep pushing forward kind of no matter what. Any situation that I was put into while I was working there, I was just like, we're going to solve it, and that's it, and we're going to keep going regardless of what somebody might say, positive or negative. Like, we have to keep going straight. So I guess that would be the advice. And you can't dwell on it. You can't just be like, oh, that Facebook comment. You can't let it like consume you, because I've definitely been there. Facebook, I've had my moments, but yeah, you just gotta.
Were there any points where you turned it off? Where you just turned off the notifications, or you just like deleted the app off your phone temporarily just to like get it out of there?
I blocked a lot of people, so I would say I definitely blocked a lot of people. But like I get it. I don't know. It was just like a back and forth. Because yes, like you were absolutely entitled to your opinion, and I can understand why you were upset. But the constant bashing and then being like, "This had nothing to do with me," was a little bit frustrating at times. Yeah, like the constant badgering and being like, I haven't been there in 11 months, but I know it's disgusting. Like, you haven't been here in 11 months. What do you mean? A lot has changed since then. But yeah, you just gotta kind of block it out and just keep going.
Yeah. Would you do it again?
Yes. Oh my gosh. If the store opened tomorrow, I would be hands down back in there.
First in line.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.